Recording in progress.
Hey Kelsey, we knew that, Ole Miss, their identity is really on the defensive end. Just what issues did they pose just with obviously, their length and athleticism?
That's something we talked about all week that we worked on. We had our practice guys getting really physical with us, trying to use their link to the best of their ability. But I told them when you get there, it's going to be a shock because no matter how much I try to prepare you, sometimes as young kids, they're like, oh, okay, but they're really athletic and they're really fast and they're really good at defense. So I think initially finding the open person quicker, because I told them there was only going to be a sliver of like one split second where someone's going to be open. Or when you do get a shot off, it's going to have to be a little bit quicker because you're not going to have as much time as we have because they don't over rotate like a lot of teams do. They're going to try to just man you and wall up, and they're really good at it. So I think the biggest thing is just we had trouble kind of getting loose. We weren't hugging the lane lines. When we finally started hugging the lane lines, we were able to score a little bit. We got fouls a little bit more often because we were actually executing the offense at a higher rate.
Yeah, y'all got to the rim quite a bit actually, but had quite a few shots blocked and others just altered. I guess whenever you're facing a team like that, whenever they can really affect things so much around the rim, I guess what adjustments would be best to make right there?
I think some counter moves, not just, knowing who's on you if there's no rotation. I thought Harmony did a really good job. I mean, towards the end of the game, using some step throughs, using some counter moves to help her get her shot off and be able to finish effectively at the rim. And then if they do rotate or sink in, we got to make sure that backside elevates a little higher and then spotting them sooner because that was also a shot that was open for us.
Looked like y'all might have a final run in you. I think got within 12 on that 3-point play by Bonnie, and then the score just it grew really quick. What went wrong in that little span from your point of view?
We gave up a couple of offensive rebounds and some and ones, and I thought that was just kind of a little bit of a dagger because we didn't finish plays. We didn't come back, and we needed another stop to break through. We needed a big play on the defensive end to transpire to the offensive end. And, I think we honestly had like a missed block out and a turnover, and then, it just snowballs once you start to have a sliver of hope if you don't continue to push through and collect more hope.
Yeah, Cody McMahon. I mean, we knew how good of a player she is. Now that you've seen her up close and in person against your team, what does she do so effectively?
She's so strong. She can get to the rim and she can score at all three levels, especially, she has such a good mid range. So just the time you think you can stop her getting to the rim, she's going to pull up, shoot a step back or a little bit of a fadeaway in that mid range game. And she's very effective at it. She's so strong and she finishes well around the rim and at the free throw line. So she's just a force.
Yeah. I know you've kept on saying recently you want 15 three-pointers made, and obviously against a team like that, it's probably harder to get as many of them off. But to shoot 4 for 21 from the three, what did your team need to do better? I guess was it just a matter of making shots, or did you think they were taking some poor shots?
Honestly, I thought the majority of the threes, I thought we took a couple of rushed ones, but overall, those were some good looks. We got to knock those down. I tell them all the time, players got to make plays and you got to make big shots, and you're not going to get tons of open looks against a team like this. So when you do, you got to take advantage and we got to knock down those threes.
We'd seen, Emily, was so strong in the games leading up to this, and she didn't play as many minutes tonight, but once she got back in the game later, she was effective down the stretch. Was it just a matter, I guess, what was the situation there to kind of take her out of the game and then put her in late?
Yeah, Emily's always going to be consistent and she's going to do anything I ask. I felt like she was a little bit worn down. So, I thought it was best to try to save her legs and try to get her legs back under her to put her in towards the end. That was one of the key reasons. No matter what, Emily's going to give me all she's got. But at the same time, sometimes I have to make those game time decisions.
Yeah, last thing I'll ask you is just, you went up against a coach who in her first couple years in the SEC, it did not, the wins weren't there. Shea Ralph tonight, they beat Texas. She's kind of in the same situation. Do you take any comfort, I guess, seeing these tangible results of it, these programs that are maybe we're in a situation that yours is now and seeing the way that they've been able to build an identity over the years?
Absolutely. Coach O actually talked to my team after the game, which I thought I fully respect her. Before the game, she was very positive and reinforcing in the fact that we do have a good team and we are building, and she does understand that and she sees that, and she sees that we're working towards something. Our culture is being laid, our foundation is being laid, and my players play really hard, and it makes other coaches a little bit nervous, and they have to understand that. But it's about staying the course and continuing to believe. But very few teams just, like she didn't take over and just, win 20 games out the gate. Or, same thing with Shea Ralph. Everyone has to build it, and it has to be built the right way. And that's what we're going to continue to do. My girls have to continue to buy in, have to continue to play hard. Um, and I believe the breakthrough's coming. I believe we're going to make 15 threes. I'm not going to stop talking about it. I believe we're going to get that first SEC win. And and it's going to be bittersweet, but at the end of the day, we have to stay the course and we have to keep fighting. And that's the only way things get built the right way.
This the score was lopsided by the end, and this one kind of maybe like how if you were early in the SEC play, but it kind of felt different. Do you feel like right now, like even in a game like this where it kind of got away, like your team is playing with better, maybe even effort than early in the season?
Yeah, I definitely think that I would say this last stretch, we've had a couple of close games, but even the Kentucky game, I feel like if anyone watched that Kentucky game, which was a recent game, it was a close game throughout the majority of the game. It got away in a few minutes here, towards the end of the third into the fourth, but some of the games were definitely closer than it appears on like the final stat sheet. And so the energy and the effort, I think that other people recognize that too. And that's something we're going to continue to harp on and continue to expect of my team, because that's the way my teams are always going to play.
I said last question like 2 questions ago, but I actually have one more. It's your first time to, have the turnaround where you don't play on a Sunday and you're playing on a Monday instead. I guess how does that change what y'all's practices look like this week?
I think it'll be good for us because, quite frankly, I mean, this was a really late game. And so I think that, I've got some players logging a lot of minutes. And so just that recovery and that rest as we go into a stretch of like, 3 games within 7 days, it's going to be imperative that we really do take advantage of that. And then we come out ready to do what we do and be a better version of us. And we got to make shots.